Joe Hendry just made his NXT debut. I'm going to be going over the recent episode of NXT. It starts off with a 25-man battle royal for the number one contenderships for Trick Williams NXT championship match. This was what you expect from a 25-man battle royal. Nothing too crazy here. But Joe Hendry and I forgot the other person who was in this match who was also from TNA, but Joe Hendry was who was from TNA, one of the biggest stars in TNA, made his NXT debut for a one-off appearance. It was great, got a huge pop. The match starts off immediately. It immediately started off with Oro Mensah and Ethan Page brawling immediately. Oro Mensah still wants payback for what Ethan Page did to him. He immediately eliminates Ethan Page from the ring. He was the first one eliminated. Soon after, Joe Hendry was the next opponent that got eliminated very early, which I was very surprised by. I thought he was going to be one of the final four. I thought they was going to build him up, but it's understandable why they eliminated him early. Joe Hendry was the second person eliminated because everyone in the Battle Royal, all the TNA members, basically attacked Joe Hendry and ended up tossing him out early. Then later on in the match, you got No Quarter Catch Crew. They having some turmoil with Damon Kemp accidentally eliminating Charlie Dempsey. You also got some story with Nathan Frazier eliminating Tony D'Angelo as well. We get towards the end. The last two is Shawn Spears and Javon Evans, if I'm not mistaken, with Javon Evans picking up the victory, and he is your number one contender for Trick Williams. That is going to be at Heatwave. Very interesting choice. Very interesting that they went with Javon Evans, who is a babyface, who is also friends with Trick Williams. So I'm assuming they're just going to do like a friendly rivalry for Heatwave, and then maybe at the next pay-per-view they were going to do maybe another heel. Because right now there's really no real contenders for Trick Williams to really face in terms of dominant heels outside of Ethan Page. So there, it makes sense for right now at least. And I'm not mad at the pick because I love Javon Evans. I think he has a bright future, and I can't wait to see that match. Quick little segment between Carly Bright and Fallon Henley. They have a little altercation about who deserves a title shot. They go back and forth, which leads into a match later on the show. Then after this, we got a quick segment with Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice. They end up talking it out, basically talking things out before their upcoming six triple threat tag team match. And basically, Lola Vice ends up saying that she's going to come after her title, but she has nothing to worry about now, with Roxanne not trusting Lola Vice. Next, get a Chase U segment. Everyone's there outside of Riley Osborne. He's apparently in the UK. They're basically, talk about being on the same page and how they're finally working together as a team. Then the OC comes in. They talk some trash about Rich Holland, how they finally accepted him. They go back and forth, and this sets up a match for later on tonight. Next, we get the triple threat tag team match between Roxanne Perez, Lola Vice versus JC Jane, Jasmine Nix versus Jakara Jackson and Lashley. This was a decent match, nothing too special. Towards the end of the match, though, Lola Vice was about to go for a hip attack, but Roxanne Perez tags herself in, which led to her finishing the match with the pop rocks and pick up the victory. After this, it was a little, anger towards Lola Vice, but she ends up forgetting it and ends up celebrating. As they're both celebrating, Roxanne Perez ends up doing a spinning elbow, attack Lola Vice after the match and after their victory, and ends up leaving the ring. So it looks like they're building up Roxanne versus Lola Vice at Heatwave. I'm interested to see how that plays out with both of them being heels, but I think the dynamic can work. Very interesting choice though that they're pushing Lola Vice in this position already. I can't wait to see how that plays out, and I think that could be a very entertaining match, and I think it could be an interesting feud as well. Next, get a quick segment with Ethan Page and Javon Evans with Ava in the middle. But Ethan Page comes into her office, immediately mad, says that he deserves to be the number one contender, that he would have won the Battle Royal if it wasn't for Oro Mensah attacking him. Because I'm not even sure if Oro Mensah was even in the Battle Royal. I could be wrong. But he ends up saying that he deserves to be the number one contender. Javon Evans ends up, mocking Ethan Page a bit. Ethan Page, they go back and forth, which sets a match later on with Ethan Page and Javon Evans. Now, NXT North American Women's Championship match between Michin and Kalani Jordan. This was a decent match as well. I did feel like this match went a little bit longer than it was supposed to, but this was also a solid match. Towards the end of the match, though, Michin was starting to get the advantage, but the OC was out there as well. The OC was out there. Michin started getting an advantage. Out of nowhere, OTM comes out. I forget the two guys' names, but they end up coming out, talking to the OC, distracting Michin. While Michin is distracted, she's on the top rope. Jada Parker comes out of nowhere, pushes Michin off the top rope. Kalani Jordan doesn't seize it. She hits her split leg moonsault and retains her NXT North American Women's Championship, and she retains. This was an overall solid match. I'm assuming they're going to continue to build up on, Meechin versus Jada Parker. Interested to see how that will play out. And I'm interested to see what Kalani Jordan does with the NXT North American Women's Championship. Nathan Frazier and Axiom, they have a segment. Axiom is upset. He's still frustrated with Nathan Frazier continuing to venture off into other things because Nathan Frazier was in the Battle Royal. Axiom was not. Axiom feels like Nathan Frazier should only be focusing on the tag team titles, while Frazier thinks it's not a big of a deal to focus on multiple things. Then Luca Cruzifino comes in, interrupts them, and mentions how Tony D'Angelo wants a match between one of the two for the Heritage Cup Challenge, and he has a contract. Immediately, Nathan Frazier signs off the contract. Axiom, of course, is frustrated. He doesn't like that and walks off. I'm interested to see what they're going to do here with this potential breakup. I don't know why they're doing this angle. In my opinion, I think it's kind of a dumb angle. It doesn't make sense to me. I kind of get it, but to me, I feel like it's kind of doing too much. Also, too, there's no one who can really defeat Nathan and Axiom as well right now in terms of credible tag teams. So it's like I feel like you should do the tease and build on this if there was a credible opponent for Nathan and Axiom. But outside of maybe Tony D'Angelo and the family, that's the only tag team. But even though they're not really even a tag team anymore, Luca Cruzifino, Channing Stacks, they got like 2 matches under their belt. So it's not really a tag team for the most part, but they kind of flip flop between tag teams. So I'm interested to see how this story plays out, though. It should be interesting to see how they plays out and what's the end goal here. Next, get Oba Femi and Wesley. Oba Femi, of course, talking about his dominance, talking about his title reign. Wesley comes in basically wanting another title shot. Oba Femi is basically refusing to give him a title shot, constantly saying that it's time to just give up. Wesley, he was about to leave the ring. Yeah, he was about to leave the ring. Wesley ended up saying that, do not turn your back on me, and that the reason why you're avoiding me is basically because you know that if you have me in a one-on-one match, that you will realize who is actually the greatest North American champion of all time. Oba Femi kind of fed into the bait a bit, and he basically ended up agreeing to the match, so they would have a match. I'm assuming that Heat Wave. They're not going to have this match on NXT. They're going to have that match most likely at Heat Wave. So most likely it's going to be Wesley versus Oba Femi at Heat Wave, which should be a banger of a match. I can't wait to see that happens. And the fact that this match is basically going to prove who is the greatest North American champion of all time, very interesting. We get the recruitment of Tavion Heights. Charlie Dempsey is trying to recruit him. And the way Charlie Dempsey was trying to recruit him was kind of weird because Charlie Dempsey basically ended up saying that does he want to join No Quarter Catch Crew? Tavion ended up saying yes, but for some weird reason, Charlie kept on pretending like Tavion was trying to play hard to get because he ended up acting like Tavion ended up saying no or something. But he ended up saying that, how about you face one of the members of No Quarter Catch Crew and you're in, who he will face Damon Kemp next week to prove himself to be in No Quarter Catch Crew. And next week, we're going to get Damon Kemp versus Tavion Heights to see if he's going to be in the group, which he probably will be. Interested to see what's the end goal here with No Quarter Catch Crew because I don't know what's next for them because I don't see any tag team, any Heritage Cup anytime soon. So I wonder what's next for them as a faction. Next, get Fallon Henley versus Carly Bright. This was a decent match, nothing too special here. Fallon Henley, of course, picked up the victory. Now, during the match, though, towards the end, Wendy Chu came out and ended up attacking one of Carly Bright's friends. I think her name was Kendall. She ends up putting her to sleep during the match, and that's it. I'm wondering what they're going to do with Wendy Chu. I kind of like her character in terms of being this possessed, like, wicked character. The only thing is the pajamas are throwing me off. It is kind of making me not be able to take her seriously, but I understand that's part of her gimmick. But I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Wendy Chu. Chase U versus the OC. Earlier they had a segment together. Chase U ended up picking up the victory, but towards the end of the match, I think Duke Hudson ended up getting a roll-up pin on Carl Anderson. But as he getting this roll-up pin, Ridge Holland ended up pulling the tights, pulling the tights of Carl Anderson to make sure they picked the victory here. No one else saw it but the OC and Duke Hudson. Now, after the match, they had a segment backstage where basically, they're celebrating, but Andre Chase and Thea Hale was wondering what the OC was complaining about, and Duke Hudson and Ridge Holland played it off. They pretended like they didn't know what they was complaining about, so I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, because eventually they will find out. Which will cause more turmoil, and that will cause distrust. I'm assuming Riley Osborne may end up coming back, and he may end up exposing Ridge Holland, which may end up leading to them kicking him out eventually. I hope it leads to something, because this back and forth between we're good, we're not good, is getting a little annoying, but I'm interested to see how it plays out. Now next, get a quick little segment with Kalani Jordan and Ariana Grace and Ava Rain. Kalani was basically trying to figure out her next opponent, and she wanted to get an opponent that doesn't complain much and that deserves a champion opportunity. Ariana Grace comes in, she thinks it's her. Kalani unfortunately tells her it's not her, and she ends up mentioning Soruka. Ariana Grace basically ends up saying that Soruka doesn't deserve it, and she ends up making a case that she deserves it. Then Dr. Stone, Mr. Stone actually ends up saying that it should be Soruka versus Ariana Grace for a number one contendership match, which will lead to next week. It will be Ariana Grace versus Soruka in a number one contendership match for Kalani Jordan's NXT North American Women's Championship. Next, we get JC Jane, Jasmine Nix, and Fallon Henley. Fallon Henley is frustrated. She's very frustrated because she feels like that she deserves a championship opportunity, and she's mad that Soruka is getting an opportunity. Jasmine Nix and JC Jane ends up coming in the aid of her, and they mention their frustration. And then they all coming together, ends up saying that they're all frustrated and is tired of how things are run there, and then it just goes away. It looks like they're teasing a potential team up with Fallon Henley, that Fallon Henley may team up with Jasmine Nix and JC Jane. They kind of teased this at NXT Stand and Deliver after Fallon Henley won her triple threat match, where I think it was Stand and Deliver. I may have been wrong. It may have been when Fallon Henley first turned on Thea Hale, if I'm not mistaken. It may have been that. But where JC Jane and Fallon Henley had a moment together, and JC Jane was basically giving her props, and Fallon Henley was kind of considering what she said to her. So I'm assuming they're going to reconnect with that storyline, and maybe they all three end up teaming together. Now we get to the main event. Javon Evans versus Ethan Page. Javon Evans was dealing with a rib injury the entire match, so majority of the match was just Ethan Page taking advantage of the rib injury. Ethan Page ends up picking up the victory. After the match, though, Ethan Page starts confronting Trick Williams because Trick Williams is on commentary. But while he's confronting Trick Williams, Shawn Spears comes out of nowhere, comes in the ring, and starts attacking Javon Evans. Trick Williams ends up coming in the ring to protect Javon Evans and attack Shawn Spears, but he gets outnumbered because Ethan Page ends up coming in the ring and attack Trick Williams. Trick Williams is getting attacked by Shawn Spears and Ethan Page. Then, as he's getting attacked, Javon Evans ends up making a recovery and ends up doing a springboard double cutter on Shawn Spears and Ethan Page. It was very sick, and that's the end of your show there. Interested to see how this plays out. Interested to see, are they going to maybe change the plans and maybe do a tag team match? They're probably going to do a tag team match next week with Ethan Page, Shawn Spears versus Trick Williams and Javon Evans. They could end up changing the plans as well for that Heatwave match. It could be a triple threat match, possibly add Shawn Spears or Ethan Page or a Fatal 4-Way. But I'm interested to see what's next for Trick Williams. I'm interested to see what's next for NXT. And this was overall decent, so not too much. But you guys let me know what you guys thought of the episode of NXT. Leave your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But yeah, that's